Hello guys, and welcome to episode 10 of our Vanilla City Skylines Let's Play. And in today's episode I thought it would be a good chance to do a city tour, and we're probably going to do these every 10 episodes. I think would be a nice little milestone just to catch up on what we've been doing. And also we've grown in 7 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing since the start of this channel, so thank you very much for that. And for people that haven't been around since the start or haven't had a chance to go back and watch those previous episodes yet, this would be a good chance for them to jump in, I think, and just discover what we've been doing and what we've been up to. So we started the city out from this intersection. It was originally just a little simple vanilla intersection. We'll cover the highway interchange in a moment, but we started on this road here, and then we expanded out this way into our industrial estate, which has grown significantly. It hasn't got too much going for it at the minute. We haven't done too much expansion here. We've been playing with the specialised industry stuff, as opposed to doing the standard vanilla. Excuse me. And then we added these roundabouts in, just to keep traffic flowing. And then this main road connects back to the highway again. And then there's this road up through here. And then this also has its own highway entry and exit, to avoid traffic flowing back through the main road, over this bridge, and then into our residential estate. So after we built that industrial part of the map, we expanded over this bridge to the other side of the highway and built a load of commercial and residential places. So this is all residential around here. There's a mini high street just here with the tram flowing through it, and then there's also 3 hot dog vans in a row there. And then furthermore, we expanded further up and we built a highway. This originally was just simple roads, but with the tram road going through it and around, just the single road one way. But we were getting a lot of traffic backing up off that, so we upgraded it to a highway and then made the tram lines come through the middle of it, so they weren't particularly clogging up the traffic too much. And it's worked. It's solved our traffic issues very well, which is something I'm not usually very good at. But coming off the first exit off the roundabout here, you get up to our little... Well, it's not little anymore. It's actually quite big now. But this is our residential area that's kind of secluded. There's only one way in and out of it back to that roundabout. But it's okay. It holds quite a lot of people. And it's also connected to our park here, which I think is called... This is Goose Home, isn't it? I think this park is called. I think it's called Goose Home. Named after a local park. And then it just connects through different paths down here as well. And then there's a few activities in here. This part does need a little bit of expansion, a little bit of detailing, just to take away some of these empty patches. And I'm hoping we can do a detailing episode. Probably next episode we can maybe do that. So then heading back out of this residential area, we come back to our roundabout, and then we follow this main road down here, again past some more residential areas, and we come to what was our first main high street. So this expands down to the bottom, and then it linked back up with the highway, which is just entrance back over here. This was originally just a normal road, but as soon as we unlocked the trams, we made sure that they were flowing through this road up here. And then these are getting a lot of use now. You can see how many people are waiting to get on them and going up them. And then just off to the left of our high street here is just a tiny little commercial zone. Just low density, nice and suburby. And then that links up with the tunnel, which comes out back onto the high street here. So they have 2 ways in and out of the estate. So as we come back up the high street, we start to go a little bit uphill. And then there's some paths connecting us back to that larger residential estate down there. But all down here is just commercial. And then it just snakes around this hill on our left. And then we eventually arrive at Glebe Park, which is our first kind of social transport hub. So there's tram and bus lines that stop along this main road here outside of the park. And then there's a lot of commercial just opposite them. And then we start at the park here, so you come in, there's a nice little food truck. Grab something to eat, and some restrooms over there, and a little gazebo. And then there's also a plaza over here as well. And then coming through here, they actually have 2 options. They can go up and over the bridge to the other side of the park, which crosses the tram line, and then they can also go to a high school, and there's a couple more commercial, and another entrance to Goose Home Park, which is just down that walkway. And then over here we have the trams stopping, dropping lots of people off. This has become really busy, which is really good. It's exactly what I wanted to happen. So there's lots of people coming in and out of here, and they can get different buses to different parts of the city, and then get into the commercial districts and the high school and different parks and whatnot. So there's a lot of people coming in and out of this area. It's quite a busy part of town. That's a nice looking building. I like that. So then we come to this little interchange here, and recently we changed this. So this was just coming down here, and then if they wanted to come down here, they had to turn around and go down there. But we added in this little slip road just to keep traffic flowing, because it was starting to back up down this road a little bit, and it was just starting to become a little bit of a pain, but it seemed to have resolved itself now with that slip road. And as we head down this road, again, it's still a tram road, and there's lots of people coming and going out of this estate. And then there's a high school here, which I've added off camera just to satisfy a little bit of the educational demand, and people seem to be attending it. Then we come into a roundabout, and we come into one of our large, we come into one of our larger residential areas. This was really just we just built this to satisfy a lot of demand, and we've kept it fairly low key. It's all low density residential, and then it's kind of built onto the side of this mountain here. But yeah, these guys are getting pretty well upgraded now. They're nearly at their kind of max rank, if you can call it a rank. But it's just lots of little interwinding streets. There's also a few little paths here as well for them to cut through to, just to increase that walkability. And then also further into the estate, we made a little custom park using one of the vanilla assets. This is just a simple park with trees, and then we expanded off that with our own dirt paths and added some trees and undergrowth in, although this guy's garden is properly overgrown because of that, but he doesn't seem to mind. And then we can just take different paths in and out of these lanes. It just helps people get around that a little bit easier. See, there are people using these paths and exploring. And then there's a little tiny block of commercial here, just to keep people near the houses, so they don't have to head all the way back into town if they need to go shopping. And then again, pretty similar, there's paths, and there's a cemetery here as well, and there's also a crematorium just down here, which I've plopped in just to help clear the cemetery, because it is currently emptying out. You can see all the hearses coming in and out, but we'll move that and make a proper crematory area afterwards. And then this estate just continues in a similar fashion. It starts going downhill now. And then all these houses are just 2 blocks deep. I didn't want them to get too big and look too chunky, but we did manage to fill most of this out. There's a little bit of dead space here we could do with doing something. And then as we head down towards the edge of this estate, you notice that the houses switch to the green city stuff, and that's because we have a zone over here that is for renewable energy and greenhouses and whatnot. And then there's a little bit of a high street over here just to keep people happy. There's a tropical garden, some more green housing, a primary school, and also some little cute green markets. So it ended up looking quite nice, this area now. I'm fairly happy with it. And then over here is the main kind of feature of this renewable green cities residential park. It's kind of like a little private gated community, if you like. So if you're coming down the high street here, the only way in and out of it is to follow these roads. And then there's these fences and trees alongside it. So it's ended up looking quite nice. There's some paths in and out of there as well, for people to just get about that a little bit easier. And then also against this main road here, it is shielded by a row of trees. And then on the other side of that, a row of fencing. So it really does have that kind of private gated community feel. I like it. We still need to do a touch more detail in here with some more housing and some trees and some paths just to fill in these dead empty green spaces. And then there's also a bridge leaving this high street over here. And then as we head back up to town, we come back up this main road, and then we join this tram line again, which takes us back into Glebe Park Social Hub. And then as we come down this road, I wanted to keep this fairly open, just so it's not constant buildings everywhere, but again this will be trees and maybe a couple of paths or some more park features. And then we come down this tram bridge, and then we come into our main part of town, for this side of the map at least. And then this is where that bridge links back up. It's just over here, and then there's another cemetery, and then a bit of a high street with some high density commercial we're having here now. And then this road just leads off into a roundabout which actually connects back to our highway, which will follow back out of the city momentarily. Then we come into our kind of first downtown area, if you can call that. It's mainly just commercial. There's a couple of attractions here, botanical gardens, a park, a plaza. So it's kind of not a downtown, but just town, if that makes sense. So there's no major skyscrapers here. It's just where people would go for shopping. And then there's also an Institute of Creative Arts here, which is obviously just a substitute for the high school. And these guys have bus stops outside of them. And then further over here we have our first tourist district. These buildings grew a little bit too big and kind of breaks the flow of this area. But there is a little bit of descent in height, and it's ended up working out alright. And that tram line that came across the bridge that we crossed the river on also flows through here as well, to drop people off in the centre of the tourist district. And then there's paths sending them off in different directions as well. And then this tram line just flows behind the high street and behind the buildings, and also links up with our metro here as well. And then there's also a little bit more detail in here just to block off this bit of green from the highway. And then just towards the edge of the river down here is just a few more houses, and nothing too special there. And then there's also some paths that link the river to the other side of town, and there's also some quaysides here as well. And you can see it's just an easier way for people to get across. There's bridges crossing as well, and then there's the highway bridge, and more bridges back into Gooseholme, which is just over there. And it's good to see these bridges are getting used. I thought they might not, because they're a little bit too long, but apparently that's not how bridges work. So yeah, I'm happy that they're working. And then there's obviously different shortcuts into different parts of town over here. So yeah, so that's that side of town, our little downtown area. There's also a little park in there as well. And it's starting to get busy now. I've actually just upgraded these roads because traffic was starting to back up. But we'll keep our eye on that and see how it progresses. And then over here is our highway, and this starts to exit out. And then just to our left here we have an office park, almost like a business park if you like. See, it's nice and kind of fenced off. It's very separate from the rest of the city, so if you're looking for business or office space, this is where you would come. It's nothing too major. We just made a few little plazas here and then popped in some shops just to keep people happy. I think if office workers want to nip out for lunch on their break, then they have somewhere to go. Yeah, it's just a generic office park, nothing too major here, no mad detailing. There's some spaces here that we could do with filling in with trees and paths. And then there's also a path here as well that links people to the other side of town, across the river and the bridge. And then down the back of the office park as well. And then also in a tunnel which takes them back to Gooseholme Park. So there's lots of places for them to walk to rather than having to drive. And then heading back down the highway, we come back to our residential estate on the side here. And then the highway has two entrances and exits back onto the main road, which takes them to a little plaza which we built down here. This is just using the city parks prop stuff. And then there's a couple of commercial blocks here just to fill out this area a little bit. It's kind of, we did actually have a petrol station that spawned in here originally, but it's since upgraded into Andy's bowling alley, so that no longer exists. Then our tram depot is here, which feeds our tram lines across the city. It's kind of a little bit of a junction for them here to go in different directions and take people around. And coming back down here, again, that's just the office park again. And then this brings us back into our industrial estate. And there's also a canal here as well, which flows into further parts of town over there. However, we come back to our highway now. And this was what we built in episode 3 or 4, I think. It's just it's a pretty it's not super complex, but it took like 50 minutes to build this in the episode, and you can see it's just a simple kind of interchange, I suppose you would call it. People coming on and off from all different directions. This one takes them back down and heads them in that direction. That flows them in that direction. And then there's this road coming off this road here, and then it comes, loops around under, and then sends them off in that direction. So if you want to have a look at that, you can check out the episode in the playlist. The thumbnail is just a picture of this, kind of just like that. So if you're interested in seeing how it was built, you can go and check that out over there. So as we follow this highway down, we come all the way down here, and then we come to an exit off the ramp. That brings us to a roundabout, and this brings us to our first, I like to call this a forestry town. There's a lot of little spindly arms of roads here that are all just residential, just to kind of give it a little bit of a suburby feel. And yeah, nothing too special about this, just lots of random patterns. You can see from the bird's eye view that it's just serves as a residential estate. And then in here, this place has been zoned as renewable green commercial. So all of the commercial buildings in here are of kind of the green variety from the Green Cities DLC. And you can see there's different public markets around, and soy and lentil shops, and a little plaza here as well with a path cutting through to that main road that links back around from our exit. And then there's obviously just more commercial, residential, a high school and a cemetery for this part of town, and then just different paths to improve that walkability again. Then back on this main road we've got our services, we have fire and police, and then there's also a biofuel bus depot here as well, which links through to our first industry specialisation area that we did on this map, and this is our forestry town. So there's storage logs here, different little tree farms I suppose you could call them that, and then there's timber mills, so we're producing timber and paper here, and then there's also little tree sapling plantations down the right, and then a little bit further up the road is our, I think these are like lumber mills or something, they do something with lumber, but they also pollute, and so we just moved them away from all this town a little bit. But this area, I didn't want to let it grow too crazy. There's a little bit more room for expansion down this road here when it does level up again. But I didn't want this to be like massively industrial, because it's kind of like in a little small lone part of town. Like this area won't grow any bigger than it is now. That is pretty much finished, apart from touching it up in the detailing episode, which we'll hopefully do soon. So then, leaving this part of town, we come up to this roundabout again. This arm will eventually connect to somewhere. I'm not too sure what yet. Maybe an access for this industrial estate here, so they don't have to come all the way back through town. That might be a good idea. And then this bridge just links us back onto the highway. I've realised that these guys don't actually have a way to get back onto this side, so we maybe have to do that soon. And then this is just a simple vanilla interchange, and we'll discuss what's going to happen here. This will eventually be our huge downtown skyscraper area. This will all sit here along this coastline, and then further up here as well. So this one day will all be skyscrapers and dense city, but for now it's a forest. Then this other exit in town takes us up onto the highway again, and then at the minute this highway just comes to an end here. And we will be building a huge oil refinery, mega industrial area in this part of the map, as where the soil changes colour here. You can see the tonal difference between here and here. This is going to be our oil industry. So then, leaving the highway, we come down onto this little roundabout that goes under it, and then we come off to this entrance to our high density part of town. We're introduced to a couple of high density commercial and a little park plaza thing here as well. And then our canal that we mentioned earlier also joins up here as well. This is where it flows to, and then it flows into town. And there's lots of different crossings for people. Just going to have a quick sip of my drink. Excuse me for that. Yeah, so we have lots of different crossings up and over these roads here to the other side of the canal, because otherwise I'd have to head all the way around on the road, which isn't ideal. So this just kind of reduces traffic in this area, especially since it's all single roads. But all these houses are high density green city renewable stuff, and I think they look really cool. Especially this guy now. This guy's like the first fully upgraded one. And it just looks so cool to see. Like, I like the look of these buildings a lot more. And it also kind of fits in with the canal, and everything's very green and there's flowing water around, and I think it just fits in with the theme, so I'm really happy with it. And then again, that just continues out this side as well, and you can get a bit of a bird's eye view of that just by rolling out. And then this is where we kind of finished expanding this part last time, so there's still a lot more expansion we can get in here, a lot more room for housing and whatnot, and then we can kind of detail this part of the map and put in some sound barriers along the highway. Then coming back to this high street where the park was, again there's more high density residential there, and then we come into our kind of social transport hub for this area, which is made up of a couple of plazas with picnic tables, and then a path right through the middle, if I can get through to that. There you go, you can just about see it there. And then another plaza, there's one there as well. And then this is our bus station, which is currently operating 2 lines at the moment. And then there's this little bit over here, which we built a couple of episodes ago. Let's see how many people are using this line. It's a super busy one, and there's obviously another link to our metro station there as well, so people can come and go as they please. It does seem to be working. There's a lot of people kind of milling about this area, as you can see. It's getting quite busy now, and it's starting to look really nice as well. I am starting to like the look of this part of town. And then this little one-way road system here just keeps the buses flowing, so rather than having them all pile in here and then eventually start to clog up this road, each of the bus lines that stops here has to go through this little one-way system and just drop people off here as they go, and it just keeps them flowing. And then also as well, there's a little bus stop here, so if we wait for this blue bus to come in, he's going to stop here, and then he's going to drop a couple of people off, and then they're going to head into town, may take the path, yeah, so then they're heading off. And then it just means that this bus here now, they're not just all piling in, this guy has to go do the same thing as has that guy, and then they can come back and pick up a fresh load of passengers. So we'll do a bit of detailing around here as well. We'll maybe put some decals down, maybe some tiles, so it's not all grassy and overgrown, because this is getting to quite an urban area now. And then the highway just looks really cool, I think, flowing over this part of town and off into its direction. And further down this highway we just have more high density commercial. This is a real big building now. This guy is upgraded quite a bit. And then we had our first public library here from the campus stuff, which dropped a couple of days ago. And this fits in really nice with the kind of high street theme, I think, especially with the park next door to it. And then further up here we have our police station for this part of town. And then there's another link back down this road, again just circles around the high density renewable green city residential estate and circles back through there to the canal. Then coming into this part of town, this is our nightlife outgoing student part of town. So this has a leisure specialisation, so there's nightclubs here. I think these are pubs as well, are they? Yeah, so there's pubs and clubs and bowling alleys and everything in between, cocktail places. This guy's actually blocking the path, need to remove him. I'm actually thinking of removing these guys on the inner kind of semicircle of this part of town. Just because it looks a little bit weird. I might just make this a park area totally, and delete these guys here and then have a park in the middle, because that'll bring a lot more people to it. So yeah, maybe we'll do that next episode, I think, in the detailing one that we're looking to do. And then again, just more kind of connections, and this links back to the main road down here. And then there's a little elementary school here too. And then this guy just has a few paths flowing through. Which brings us to the very latest thing that we've built. Our trade school campus, which has a couple of bus lines in it just to keep people going. And there's also a couple of fences here along as well. But we're not done at detail in this section just yet. So this is what we built last time. I've had a little play with it off camera so far. And obviously we ended up buying the police academy, which improves our police force across the city. And then there's a couple of dormitories here as well. These guys are just a little bit too close together for me to get a path between, so I'll probably adjust that off camera, just so we can get a path in between them. That'll look quite nice, I think. And then these guys have just completed their first academic work. So I'm hoping we can get up to another level. I think it's recognised. I think it's the next level after the one we're on at the moment. And there's a couple of book clubs here as well. But you can see we've laid out our kind of path layout for this campus and what we're planning to do with it. So eventually this will all be full of our campus buildings, and hopefully we can have a relatively successful trade school. And that'll be that. So that's it, guys. That's where we've got to. Just off camera, as I've been doing some detailing here, we've actually hit the next milestone of 17,000, which counts us as a big city now. And with that, we unlocked another tile liberal arts campus college, which I'm really looking forward to doing that stuff. There's a video on the channel of me checking out every one of the new campus buildings, and I think my favourite ones are the liberal arts stuff. They look really good. We unlocked a new policy, which is visiting scholars. The campus hires various lecturers and scholars to teach on the campus, affects all facilities in the campus area. And that gives us a faculty bonus of 25%, but also increases upkeep by 25% as well. We have some new paths, water treatment plant, crematorium, which we've already placed further over the other side of town, and a garbage collector, a track and field stadium, really want to do something with that, and then a cryopreservatory in our medical branch. So that looked really cool. Next time we're going to start doing some minor detailing, I think, is what we're going to do here. Yeah, this guy's empty now. Wonderful. You can turn off. Yeah, so this traffic is starting to back up, isn't it? We may have to do some work on that, I think. We'll have a look how it pans out. Yeah, so we'll do some little detailing next episode, I think, and I'll do some off camera just so we can kind of round off this part of town and leave it alone forever and just come back and check on it every now and again. But hopefully within the next couple of episodes we can really start expanding our kind of primary downtown theme that we're going for, which is over here. I'm really looking forward to getting started on this. Got a perfect opportunity to build some stuff in the harbour, and yeah, it's going to be good, guys. It's going to be good. Is this water polluted? No, just looks like it. Yeah, so really looking forward to getting started on that. And again, if you have any questions, suggestions or ideas, please do let me know in the comments. And we are up to, I think, 6 subscribers now, which is really, really great, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching these videos. I'm not entirely sure why you do it, but it's appreciated nonetheless, I can assure you. If you are new to the channel, do stick around. We are currently doing this Vanilla City Skylines Let's Play, a Total War Warhammer 2 Tomb Kings Let's Play, which we just released a second episode for. There's only one of those a week every Thursday. And then you can also find a link to my Twitch in the description, where I stream Destiny 2, Borderlands 2 and FIFA 19. So if you're interested in some Xbox content and some chilled out, relaxing chatty streams, you can come and follow me on Twitch in there. And then there's also a link in the description to my schedule. If you are interested in keeping up with these videos, you can find out when they come out. And then you can also find a link in the description to my setup if you are at all interested in what I am using. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'll speak to you all soon, and enjoy the rest of your day.